Hi everybody. One of the things that always takes teachers a long time is creating seating charts for their classes. I don't know how many times early in my career I sat in front of a piece of paper or a computer screen trying to figure out where I could place students in my room so that way they are productive and also so that way I can assist them as needed. One of the things I've discovered within the last couple of years is the ability to create a seating chart generator using Microsoft Excel. So what I'm going to show you today in this tutorial is how you could create a randomizer within Microsoft Excel to generate a new seating chart for your classroom, and then how you could tweak that from there to best fit the needs of your students. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create a new spreadsheet that has the names of your students in it. So I have a blank book right here, and you're going to want to create a column. In that first column, you're just going to want to type the names of your students. You could also just import a spreadsheet of your student names if you have the ability to download that from your district's gradebook software. So to save a little bit of time here, I have pre-made a spreadsheet with the names, and you'll see that I have them all here in the first column. The first thing you're going to want to do is duplicate the names that are in this column to another column. So to simply do that, all you have to do is click somewhere else in the spreadsheet. I'm going to select the cell D2, and rather than just do copy paste, we're going to use a formula to duplicate the names. So all you have to do for that is hit equal and then type the name of the cell that has that first name in it. So in this case, it is cell A2. So I'll type in A2. And you see that it copies that person's name. What you'll then want to do is just click that bottom right corner of that box, so that way it duplicates the formatting of that cell for the rest of the column. So I'm going to drag that down until I reach the end of my list of names. And you'll see that it copied all of them. Now, I don't know about you, but I know I don't have my students all sit in one long column. I have them arranged in groups of 4. So in order to make my spreadsheet look like what my arrangement of desks is in the room, all you have to do is drag and drop. So I'll select these two names here. My students sit in groups of 4, so I'll select 2. And I'll drag them over next to those first 2 names, and now you see that I've created a group of 4 names. And I'll continue to do that for the remaining groups. So I just finished dragging the boxes of kids' names to create groups of 4. And you see that I have them all in one column, and if I want to make this look like a map of my room, I'm going to grab a couple more groups here, drag them over a few cells, a few columns, so that way the arrangement of the names looks like the arrangement of the tables in my room. So now you have a list of names that it's in alphabetical order, but it mirrors the arrangement of your classroom, or at least in this case of my classroom. You could arrange these names however you want. For me, I'm going to add the words front of room at the top of this spreadsheet, so that way when I project this for my students, they know where the front of the room is at. I'll also show the back of the room. And I'll even include a place for where the door is at in my room, so that way students know what where group 1 is, where group 2 is, group 3, etc. Right now we have our groups arranged in alphabetical order, and the purpose of this tutorial is to show you how we can randomize these names to create a new seating chart for ourselves, saving ourselves time, and also mixing things up for our students if we happen to display this at the front of the room at the start of a class period to create new groups. We already have the formatting of our map. Now we just have to create our random numbers and then sort them. To do this, we have our list of names in the first column of the spreadsheet. In the second column, we're going to create our random numbers. So the heading for this, I'm going to type random number. And rather than type in random numbers, we're going to let Microsoft Excel generate random numbers for us for each kid's name. So you see next to the first name that I have here, this is cell A2. In that column for the random number, this is blank right now. But we're going to type in a function that will give us a random number. We're going to enter the equal sign, the phrase rand, and then just a pair of parentheses. I don't have to type anything in the parentheses, just a pair of parentheses. And you see when I hit enter that now it's created a random number. If I click that cell and drag the right corner down, it'll copy that formatting to the rest of these cells, giving every single other student a random number. So we have our random numbers here. And by us sorting these random numbers, we could create a new seating chart for our students that we have over on my classroom map to the right. To do this, we're going to select the first two columns. So I'm going to click column A and hold the shift button down and click column B. And now you see that I've selected all the names and all the random numbers. I'm going to go up to the toolbar here. And underneath where it says formulas, next to it we see data. I'm going to click data. And you'll see that over here on the right where it says sort and filter, there's this button that says sort. So I'm going to click that sort button, which will then sort all of the names using the random numbers that I've chosen. In our box that pops up here, we get a choice of how it will sort our data. We want to sort not by the names, otherwise it'll do it in alphabetical order. We want to sort by the random numbers. And you see that by choosing sort by random numbers, it switched the order from alphabetical to largest to smallest. So you could use largest to smallest or smallest to largest. Either way, it'll randomize the names that we have in the neighboring cells. Now that we have that set up to create our new seating chart, all we have to do is click OK. And you'll see that now I've created a new seating chart for my class. And it's randomized. There might be some students that are in a group that have last names that start with a pretty close letter, but for the most part it is fairly random how this data has been sorted. If I wanted to create a new seating chart, all I have to do is select those first two columns again, so columns A and B, click sort, making sure that it's sorting by random numbers, and you'll see that now I've created another new seating chart for my classes. And you could continue to do this how often or however you want. So now that we know how to randomize our data, it would be helpful if we had this formatted in a way so it'll be easy to project for our students when we have them walk in to find their new seat at the beginning of a quarter or at the beginning of a class period, however often you choose to randomize your students' seats. Right now you'll see that most of the names fit into our cells pretty well, but there's a few that are a little bit squished. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of the font by just selecting all the data over in these cells, going back to my home panel, and just increasing the size of the text up here. We still see that some of these names are squished. So over here with the Format button, I'm just going to select Auto Fit Column Width. And you'll see that now all of the names here fit into the boxes. So we have a pretty good seating chart for ourselves, but if you're anything like me, I know occasionally in my classes when I'm making a seating chart, there might be when I'm running my randomizer here, some names that pop up that I know those students probably won't be that productive together. It's just a fact of life. So looking at my data, let's say that Tom doesn't really work well with Barry. I want to keep the rest of these students pretty much where they're at. I just want to move these two students to a different group or different groups and then move somebody else in their place. In order for that to happen, all we got to do is select a person's name. Let's say I choose Barry's name. I could drag his name out of that group of 4, drag some other student in his place. So let's say I'm going to move Eric over to Tom's group now. I just drag and drop the name. And then I'm going to take Barry and place him where Eric was at. And now I've fixed that conflict. So that's a simple way to still use the randomize feature of this spreadsheet while also making sure that you can place everybody in your classroom in a productive position. When I go to randomize, you'll see that if I select columns A and B, I click data and sort, sorting by the random numbers again, the randomizer still works. It hasn't affected things. To summarize how we could use Microsoft Excel to create a random seating chart generator for ourselves, it all comes down to using the first 2 columns for the names of our students, using the second column for random numbers by simply typing in the function equals rand and then a pair of parentheses, and then dragging that down to assign every student in our class a random number, copying the names of our students over to the right-hand side of our spreadsheet using the simple reference function equals A2 and applying that to the rest of the column and dragging the names to match the arrangement of our room. And then once we have our classroom map set up to randomize, all we simply have to do is select columns A and B, go to the data toolbar, select sort by random number, and click OK, and we've created a new seating chart. If we want to make any manual changes to the seating chart, all we simply have to do is grab a name and drag it and exchange it with some other student's name. Whether you make seating charts every quarter for your classes, or whether you choose to mix it up with your students and assign them a new seat on a weekly basis or a daily basis, this Excel spreadsheet or using a Google Sheets with similar functions is an excellent way to save time while you're making seating charts. If you have any further questions about how we can randomize seats for students using this technology, feel free to email me or contact me through Twitter. My handle is @Trigotometry.